Hi everyone, Mac here. So in this video, I'll be going through 5 things that can help you become a successful freelancer. Now let's start off with number 1. And by the way, before we go to number 1, majority of these things I'm discussing here are based on experience because I've been a freelancer myself. Okay, so let's kick off with number 1, collecting payments. Now this is very important because I've noticed that every time I gave the client my bank details, it takes them very long to take the payment because the process is long. They have to log into their bank account and then transfer that money to you that way. Or they have to go into the bank and then deposit that money into your account. So one of the quickest ways to get these payments sorted is by using a payment gateways like PayPal or Stripe. Now, I'm a fan of Stripe because majority of people, or what I've noticed in my clients, is they don't choose PayPal, but everyone has a debit or credit card. So Stripe allows you to take payments that way. So they just go on, you just send them a link, you create a page, maybe with Gravity Forms, and link it up with Stripe. And then that way you can just send them a link, they fill in the details, and then all they have to do is to take out their card, make a payment, and that's it. Payment goes and it's in your account. Okay, so let's move on to number 2, invoicing. Invoicing is very important. Never ever take on a project without raising an invoice because it's hard to track your payments, and also it's quite difficult when you have a long-term client, and majority of what you agreed was just verbally and you've taken that money. So you need a trail of information every time you do a transaction. So raising an invoice is very important. In fact, what I found even easier, which links now to the first one, is using FreshBooks. Now, what FreshBooks does is it allows you to raise an invoice and also collect payments. So this is kind of like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So that's something that you may need to look into. Now, there are also other invoicing platforms, but the one I'm familiar with is FreshBooks. Okay, so let's move on to number 3, project management software. Now, before I used to work with email, it was crazy because sometimes a client would send you an email and it ends up in the spam folder. So what happens is it messes up your workflow. Now you can imagine if you have, say, 10 clients and you're trying to work off of your email, it's going to be crazy. So I recommend using something like Basecamp. Basecamp is fantastic because you can actually create projects for every single client and all your communication is basically in that project. So whatever attachments or communication that you're having, comments, all that is within that project. Let's move on to number 4, taking deposits. Never take a job without a deposit. Of course, there are some exceptions depending on what you're working on, but when you ask for a deposit and the client pays, that means they're serious about taking on that project. So I recommend taking about 50% down and then maybe 25% just before the job is done, and then finally taking the final payment. Okay, so let's move on to number 5, and this is the final one. Now, contracts. Every time you get a client, obviously things will be exciting. You know, the client is excited to meet you and have you work on their project. You're excited because there's money coming in, but things can go crazy down the line because if you don't have a contract in place, you'll find that you'll be working with things that are beyond what you expected, and the client perhaps may have some expectations. So having a contract keeps everything in check because it saves you time and frustrations, because a client may assume that after you design their website, for example, you then do the updates for them, right? So the moment you mention maintenance fee, you then start falling into a lot of problems. So having a contract whereby you state all these things way ahead of time and going through that contract with your client is one way of saving a lot of problems in the future. Okay, so these are my 5 tips that can help you become a successful freelance designer. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and also do go on to mac.live. There are some videos I'll be posting on there that don't make their way to YouTube or Facebook. So go over there, subscribe on the mailing list, and you'll be notified every time I post a new video. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon.